How's it everyone, this is Lolcohol, and in today's video I'm going to be going through some interesting crafting quirks, things that you might not know about crafting. Some of these are actually really helpful tips, some of them are a bit silly, but let me know if you know them all, and if you know any others, also let me know in the comments. But let's get started. To get started, this is probably one of the most useful tricks, and that is cannot roll attack modifiers and cannot roll caster modifiers respect annuls. Now what do I mean by that? Let's say we put cannot roll attack modifiers on this. Now if we hit this with an annul, the only modifiers it can remove are modifiers that do not have the attack tag. So in this case, it's dexterity, attribute requirements, or the cannot roll attack modifiers itself. So if I do this, there you see it removed cannot roll attack mods. There it removed dexterity. If we do it again, it removed attributes, and here it removed cannot roll attack modifiers, and that's going to happen every single time, as you can see. Now for caster, it's the same thing. Cannot roll caster modifiers. Again, it can only remove intelligence or that accuracy rating or the crafted mod itself. So we do that, and now it's always going to remove cannot roll caster modifiers because fire damage to spells and spell damage hybrid have the caster tag. Why it works like this, I don't know, but it can be very useful if you, let's say, have some weapon you're crafting and the prefixes are, let's say, like fire damage to attacks, lightning damage to attacks, and then mana, and you've got an open suffix. You can go cannot roll attack modifiers and safely annul off the mana. Now another one that I always get asked during crafting videos is, let's say I'm working on a craft and I get to a point where, let's say I've got very good suffixes, something like this, pretend that's like tier 1 fire resistance and a bunch of other good stuff on the suffixes, and then I'll lock suffixes and reforge life trying to get high life. And a lot of people say, why don't you lock suffixes and then use a deafening essence of greed to guarantee the pseudo T1 life? Something you might not know is that metacraft, such as suffixes cannot be changed, prefixes cannot be changed, multi-mod, cannot roll attack modifiers, and cannot roll caster modifiers prevent the use of essences on items. So you do this and you actually get an error message saying you can't use this currency on items with a modifier that affects mod outcomes. So if you've ever wondered why I don't do it like this, it's because you literally cannot. And the same thing goes for fossils. People say the same thing. You have good suffixes, use fossils to get the prefixes. Exactly the same error message. So, yep, sad that we can't do that, but unfortunately, we need to live with it. Now, this is a bit of a silly one, but maybe it has some use cases. Let's say you have an item with 3 modifiers that you want to keep, and you're going to multi-mod the rest, and you have too many exalts, and you want to waste 6 of them. What you can do, if you have 2 open suffixes and an open prefix, you can craft 3 crafted modifiers, prefixes cannot be changed, and suffixes cannot be changed. Now, if we hit this with a Chaos Orb, you're going to notice nothing changes except for the name. So, as you can see, this item's name is Rage Song, which is pretty cool. But if I wanted a different name, I could make it Brimstone Slicer, Phoenix Bite, that's pretty cool, Corruption Skewer. So, there's really not many use cases for it, but I have seen some people do it just for fun. Now next one, this is incredibly important because you can brick crafts by doing this. Prefixes cannot be changed and suffixes cannot be changed does not affect modifiers from being added to the prefixes or suffixes. So in this case, prefixes cannot be changed is on the item. Let's say I want some crit multi. If I do reforge crit, my prefixes could get completely filled up with random modifiers that are not crit related. So let's do this. So it's not always going to happen. In that case, it didn't, but let's try again. Here you can see it had prefixes cannot be changed, but it went on to add physical damage. So prefixes and suffixes cannot be changed doesn't prevent mods being added. Now, when is this important? So I think a good example would be something like crafting in stacking armor. Let's say you've got this armor, you have intelligence, you have elevated socketed intelligence gems. Now you want to re-roll your prefixes to get high energy shield. So what you do, maybe if you're not paying attention, is you go suffixes cannot be changed, right? Okay, cool. Now I'm going to go over to harvest, reforge defense, more common, and you do this, and now your final suffix is full, and you're sad because you wanted to craft percent attributes on the item. As you can see, it happened again. There, we were lucky and it didn't happen. But now, how do you prevent this? So something you can do if you have a very specific case like this, in order to protect that final suffix, what you can do is go can have up to 3 crafted modifiers. This is going to block that final suffix. Then you go suffixes cannot be changed, and then you go reforge defense, more common, and that final suffix is always going to be safe. So just remember, prefixes and suffixes cannot be changed doesn't prevent mods being added, it just prevents the existing mods from being adjusted. Another thing, suffixes cannot be changed, and then scouring an item, suffixes are fine, it just scours off the prefixes. Same is going to be for annuls. This next one is actually very useful, and this comes to us from Guitaraholic. He told me about this a while ago, but temple incursion mods such as damage with hits against chilled enemies, some of these are more useful than others. This one in particular tends to be one of the most popular for cast and crit builds, but did you know you can change this modifier with harvest? So let's say you have a fire one and you want cold, you could go reforge fire to cold, or in this case, change a modifier that grants cold resistance into a similar tier modifier that grants fire resistance. And as you can see, it maintains the temple incursion mod, but it just changes it to the fire variant. So if you're looking for a pair of the cold ones, let's say, and the fire ones are much cheaper, well, now you know you can buy that one and then change it with harvest. And similarly, with maximum resistance rolls on items, you can change this with harvest. Someone in chat brought this to my attention. Thank you. I forgot your name. Let me know in the comments. But let's say you have max lightning and you want max cold. You can go change a modifier that grants lightning resistance into a similar tier that grants cold resistance. Now we have maximum cold resistance. Very useful. Now this is an incredibly niche thing, but I guess it sometimes comes in handy. But Orbs of Dominance, what these do is they remove one influence modifier from an item with at least 2 influence modifiers and upgrades another. So this is what people use to get elevated influence modifiers on items like tier 0 minion damage in this case. So let's say we have this item, for example. What we could do is hit it with an Orb of Dominance and hope that this Blast Chain Mine elevates this mod. And you might be thinking, well, these are already elevated, so it has to either be one of these two, right? Because this Blast Chain Mine can't be removed and then elevate an already elevated mod. But you would be wrong. Elevated mods can be quote-unquote re-elevated. So as you saw there, the hypothermia was removed and then one of these mods was elevated, but of course there's no elevated, well, at least not yet, so that can't happen. In this case, of course, what you would do is go prefixes cannot be changed with your crafting bench, and then that would safely guarantee that these are the only 2 mods that can be elevated. So you would go like this. Hey, you have a triple elevated item. Cool. But just remember, you can elevate an elevated modifier. And now the last tip, this one is also very useful and very important, especially with crafting weapons. Let's say you have this beautiful axe with perfect tier 1 modifiers as prefixes, and to get your 5th mod, you're going to go for an ashling. So the way ashling works is it removes one modifier and then it adds a veiled modifier to the item. So normally you wouldn't just go for an ashling on this. What you would do is go prefixes cannot be changed. Then when we ashling, it can only remove a suffix. So in this case, we would be sad because our tier 1 attack speed is gone. But when it comes to suffixes, a little trick we can do to improve our odds, if we only have one suffix, we can go can have up to 3 crafted modifiers, and then prefixes cannot be changed, and then go for the ashling, and that turns a 50-50 into a 66% chance of success. As you can see, there we got it. There, we're sad. But there, we got it. Most of the time, we're going to be happy. So remember, this only works if your prefixes are full and you want to protect a suffix. These modifiers are suffixes, they're always suffixes. So if you watch a crafting video and I'm working on my suffixes and you say, why didn't you do this before trying to go for a veiled prefix? That's why, these are suffixes. But that is going to be it for this video. Please, if you have any other interesting crafting quirks or tips, let me know in the comments below. I'm very curious to learn more. Maybe there's some I forgot, but if you knew all of them, also let me know. Anyway, have a wonderful day, everyone. Be sure to follow me on Twitch. I'm going to be streaming a lot on League Start. Also, I will be streaming the Lake of Calandra expansion reveal this coming Thursday? Or is it Friday? I think it's Thursday, but give me a follow there and you can watch it live with me. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Divine power! Divine power! It's launching, Exile. You're making me nervous.